I'm going to show you my method of doing bindings using the Sewing Revolution's BindAid. Now I've started off actually by putting my name on one side. That's A, that I don't lose it at retreats, and B, it also reminds me which way that I use the BindAid every time I use it. Now I've cut 5 strips of fabric that are 3 inches wide that I'm going to join together for my binding. So the first thing that I would do was to open my strips out so that they're the right sides facing upwards. And then I lay them down one on top of the other. It doesn't matter that I don't have to press them as long as the edges are pretty straight and not wrinkled on this side where I'm going to make my first cut. So I'm going to place these on top of each other so they have the edges all lined up. Now I'm going to select my BindAid, and it doesn't matter where I place these lines, but what I want to make sure is that I don't have the selvage edge to the edge. And I'm going to cut now that angle using my BindAid. So I'm just going to get my rotary cutter and slice, and that becomes waste, which I'm going to throw away. Now if I hold these strips up and straighten them out, I usually would just shake them down so that they're all level. And I know then that this end is going that way because I put the BindAid on that way. Now I'm going to join these together, line them all up. Again, making sure that my BindAid was facing the same way, and I'm going to put the BindAid on top. And then I'm going to cut in the same direction on the other end of my strips. Once again, we've got some waste. Now you'll see that when I hold the strips out, that both ends are facing the same way. This saves a lot of confusion when you're trying to join your binding together. Okay, so now all I need to do is take these to my machine, and what I do is I lay them across my knee, my right knee, and then I place that under the machine like that. Lift another one up and pull the end so that then I machine with the seam allowance that I want. Now I don't use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I use a little bit over that seam allowance. So if you look, the seam allowance is roughly 1/2 inch rather than 1/4 inch. Then when I've sewn those together, I then get the end of that and make sure I lay it down the same way as I laid down that strip. So that strip then would be moved out of the way, or you can chain piece. Again, I will grab the end of this one and lay it over and machine until I have a continuous